Good evening. Thank you, Gillian and Werner. And I have to say I'm very honored and happy to have received this prize and to be here with you today. My poem is called Interknitted. This poem is about knitting in the midst of life changes. A piece of knitting is like life, a work in progress, something fluid, something open. Each major change in life, like a love change, for example, brings a rearrangement of one's identity according to new habits, new likes and dislikes, a new diet, a fresh start. And all of this is recorded in a new kind of texture, a poem. So I will now read the poem, Interknitted. Knit one, purl one, like saying, now a stick, now a carrot, today, not yesterday, not ever, quasi-tomorrow. Syllables ping-ponging over the yarn. Still life, oranges, come autumn, like saying, checkmate, round off, cross-stitch. 2. Rewind station, major shift of scenery, trade needle for crocodile, or gazelle skewer, wool for Egyptian cotton, finely spun, flight, tedium. Switch diet, switch mold and model, mannequin. 3. The parts get tangled, the plot thickens, reknit edges, getaways, vindaloos, the same wool, yes, practice seat stitch, braiding, Kama Sutra, pour vodka in mango lassi, cast off, front left, slip right. 4. During the halftime, a denouement creeps in. Cold shower, cafe express, intertwined with hot concocted delicacies. Curcuma, yogurt, legumes, finest Dutch schemes, ice-cold beer, lust, knots and cuffs still to be done and undone. My doing. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. This poem was actually written many, many years ago when I was in the Philippines, and it had stayed in my drawer for all this time. It was written after visiting the Taban Caves on the Palawan Island, which is one of the cradles of civilization in Southeast Asia. It is called Through the Eye of a Robinson's Needle, and it starts with a quote from a man who spent 500 days on a solitary island. He says, I came here solitary, I leave amused. Noon and its heat. You can't put it in a can, can't wrap the scent of flowers in tinfoil or paper. Waves crushing on the precipice cannot be lifted onto a dugout on blue water. 7,000 silhouettes inside a single island, the white ash of sand, and songs oozing from the heights of eucalypti, just like honey. Voices richer than they themselves would dare to believe. A single resting place and 7,000 ways of knowing. Lands golden, green and purple, blue, uninhabited, but brimming with life. Crabs lurking in the shallows, time crawling back into its motley shell. A world that's been forgotten and then re-dreamt of. A Robinson, the only man still there to know. Soul's horizons never reach their conclusion. Explorers of spirit never find their final rest.
Good evening. Unfortunately, I was away in America and unable to attend the Provost autumn reception when Through American Eyes, the journal of George Washington Farley Hurd, was launched. So I am most grateful to Gillian for giving me this opportunity to say a few words. My interest in the Hurds derives from the fact that my maternal grandmother was a Hurd, and from time to time mention was made in the family of their background. But it was when I returned to Hong Kong in 1964 to work for my mother's brother that I began to learn more about them, as he maintained a correspondence with his cousin on this topic. The journals which comprise Through American Eyes are part of a very substantive archive of Hurd papers, which I estimate at between 500,000 and 750,000 pages, of which 100,000 pages are letters. The archive, which contains a wealth of information about the early dealings of Western merchants with China and the Chinese, as well as its evidence of Western merchants, as well as its evidence as to diplomatic, military, and cultural interactions, is housed in the Baker Library at the Harvard Business School. Some years ago, I spent 3 days delving into it. Apart from 4 typewritten documents, all the other papers are handwritten and quite difficult to decipher from the microfilm to which they have been copied. Therefore, I would like to congratulate Gillian and Mrs. Chris Duggan for their considerable fortitude and perseverance in the task of transcribing these diaries. Several of us hope that over time, technology can make the entire archive more accessible. While several authors, such as Stephen Lockwood, Tim Sturgis, and Elizabeth Sinn, have referenced the archive extensively, and just a few weeks ago, the professor of history at Bristol University was using it for an account he is writing. Through American Eyes, we believe, is the only part of the archive now published in book form. You may already be familiar with the Hurd's legacy without knowing it. The prominent building in Central, next to St. John's Cathedral and opposite the Hong Kong Bank, known as the former French Mission Building, was built by them as the headquarters of the firm and their residence. Also, connecting Johnson Road with Hennessy Road is Hurd Street, which may well have been named after them. This evening, I would like to provide some context to the author of the journals published as Through American Eyes, George Hurd, the youngest of the 4 nephews of Augustine Hurd, founder of Augustine Hurd and Company. The Hurds were a remarkable family. They originated from East Anglia and came to New England around 1636 and achieved prominence through John Hurd, the grandfather of the 4 nephews. John was a successful businessman across a wide range of enterprises, including overseas trade. He was also elected to the Massachusetts House of Representatives and subsequently to the State Senate. Of his 14 children by 2 marriages, 3 sons are of particular interest: Daniel, his 6th child, Augustine, his 10th child, and George Sr., his 13th child. Daniel was the first Hurd to trade directly with China as a supercargo, the person responsible for assembling the cargo to be shipped, disposing of it on arrival, and assembling a return cargo for sale in America. He arrived in China in 1801, but very shortly after succumbed to a tropical disease that he had acquired on the way in Calcutta. It was not until 1809 that Augustine, who gained a formidable reputation as a businessman as well as that of a highly skilled ship's captain, arrived in China, also as a supercargo. He made periodic voyages to China thereafter and eventually joined Russell & Company, the largest American China trade company, as a partner in 1830. However, he had to return to America in 1834 due to ill health, but continued on there as a partner of the firm. Towards the end of the 1830s, there was disagreement among the Russell partners working in China, recorded in the book Rivalry in Canton, The Control of Russell & Company, 1838 to 1840, and the founding of Augustine Hurd & Company, by Tim Sturgis, a descendant of one of the Russell partners. Augustine Hurd & Company was founded in 1840 in Canton, and in 1841, Augustine returned to China, together with his eldest nephew, John, who was only 17 at the time. Bad health again forced Augustine back to America in 1844, and he handed over the running of the company in China to John. just 20 years of age, while he looked after the American end of the business. In the course of the following 15 years, John's three brothers, Augustine, Albert, and George, our author, joined the company. All remained active in the business in one way or another until its bankruptcy in 1875. The company engaged in a broad range of business activities, including trading, shipping, insurance, engineering. Their company, the Novelty Iron Works, manufactured guns for the Macau fort, and bakery through ownership of the Wanchai Bakery. They also engaged in the transport of Chinese labor to the California goldfields and were a preferred shipper due to the good conditions provided on their ships. Their trading activities to China included opium from India, cotton from the USA, and rice from Siam and Taiwan. And they mainly shipped out of China tea and silks. The company owned the offices in Hong Kong, Shanghai on the Bund, Yokohama, and Nagasaki, as well as owning land along the Yangtze River in Qkiang, Hankow, and Hanyang. In addition, the company had offices in Canton, Fuzhou, and Kanagawa. At its height, Augustine Herd was earning annual profits of close to $500,000 US. This kind of success is not achieved without significant entrepreneurial flair. Initiatives such as being the first foreign company to trade with Siam, the first foreign company to establish a trading company in Japan in 1859, thanks to an invitation from Captain Nicholson of the US frigate Mississippi to join the voyage, conveying Minister Harris to inaugurate the trade part of the US-Japan Treaty signed the previous year. Another important initiative was John's foresight that the outcome of the Second Opium War would be victory for the British and the establishment of treaty ports along the Yangtze. Accordingly, he commissioned the building of a river steamer, the Fire Dart, in America, which arrived in China just after hostilities ceased, enabled the company to be the first foreign company to establish trade with Yangtze ports, a business which yielded them around $200,000 US in annual profits. Albert and George alternated as directors of the Hong Kong and Shanghai Banking Corporation, right from its founding in 1865, with Albert having been a member of the Provisional Committee set up in 1864, and George additionally served a term as chairman. The Herds were keen observers of the political scene and very well aware of its impact on business. John Herd was honorary Russian consul in Shanghai and both honorary Portuguese and honorary Russian consul in Hong Kong. Albert also served a term as honorary Russian consul in Hong Kong, and after the demise of the company, he officially represented China in Russia for several years, while later on in life, Augustine became US Minister to Korea. Summing up their experience as China traders, John Herd said, "All transactions with the Chinese merchants were by word of mouth. When a bargain was concluded, each entered it into his memorandum book, and I never knew of a dispute arising. The honesty of the Chinese was remarkable." And Augustine Herd, in the 1890s, at a lecture he gave during a period of considerable American animosity towards China, said, "Of the hundreds of thousands of dollars we sent into the country under the extraordinary conditions which I have described, not one was lost, and I never heard that anyone lost anything. I doubt if there is another country in the world where such an experience is possible, and it should be recollected in honor of them. At this time, when we are hearing nothing but evil of them, I wish to give my voice in their favor." George also, in his journals, showed alertness to business considerations and a general attitude of fellow feeling towards both the Chinese and Japanese people whom he met. I have said little about George in this short talk, as I hope to have whetted your appetite sufficiently to want to explore his personality as he presents himself in Through American Eyes.
Hi, the title of the poem is The Queer Eye. You are still a seed floating in my womb in search of fertile soil, and I was unaware that many years later I would have to come back to you when my eye popped out of its socket. In the blink of that eye, you had changed, transformed, grown up, a foreigner in her own land, who spoke an incomprehensible language or none at all. Was I trying too hard to look beyond, penetrate the unknown realm of a fledgling mind, see through the door of your inaccessible space, desiring you to grow without so much pain, to flourish, bloom, without severing your roots? The queer I did not see, could not see, despite the efforts, the squinting and the straining. The eyelid, exhausted, started swelling, and I often woke up at night with my cheek wet, of tears unknown. Other times I had double vision, and it was the two of you, the one I knew well and the one I did not. Finally, the bulging eyes straight, pull up the lid and expose the bulb, like an actor naked on stage, who never went back to his old home. Still now, as it painfully focuses on things past, it yearns to catch sight of a young girl in her mother's arms, whose dark and piercing gaze relaxes to the melodious sound of a familiar voice. Thank you.
Dear son, you mourn for your broken heart caused by uncountable attacks blown, stripping all the leaves, disenchanting your desired dream. You go forth, licking well in the wind, silently both your lips, so to end the distraught terminal feast. Can you tell how your wound will be healed? Mother, give me a hint, as I'm not seeing what I can give. Replant you between the trees, we build you a ranch cabin. Tightly hold your hands, let not you glow in the bleakness. I'll do everything for you in my sense. And you, please, believe your dream. Keep intact the spirit. Stretch out your arms, embrace the bliss. The dark is gone, listen into. This is the rule with the outer eternity as inconsistency for you. Thank you.
My poem, Spirit of the Horse, is dedicated to my son Arik, who was born on the 9th of January 2015, the year of the horse in the Chinese zodiac. From the source, your brilliant spirit descended into dark water. There you took shape with your own unique life force, a delicate seahorse with your tail anchored to me, sensitive and responsive, patient, content and carefree. From the dark water, your new ground, you ascended into the stark light. Walk, trot, canter, and gallop with boisterous sound, a noble steed embarking on its own journey, a fresh start, untainted and enthusiastic, impatient, strong, spirited heart. You want to roam free and conquer your next terrain. Speed towards your brilliant future with clear vision and focus towards a greener, endless plain. A wise unicorn seeking the gateway to a higher sphere of unity, insight, and divine consciousness. A virtuous seeker of merit and harmony. In the end, you'll depart and reach your Elysian field. You'll swiftly rise and soar into illumination, carrying only the knowledge and the great spiritual power that you wield. A heavenly Pegasus that drew forth inspiration, creativity, and ecstasy. Friend of the muses, an immortal soul, beautiful spirit, fly free.
Flowers her, seasoned with salt, he's quietly amused. Giant cement hands prop up her osteoporotic plight, but they can't withstand her gradual crumbling, sinking out of sight. He says, "Surrender to me, can't you see? I won't let you stand taller than me." He need not persist. Faithful as always, she can't resist. She says, "I choose not liberty, but thee." She has no choice. She has no voice. He doesn't want her on top of him. He's dragging her down slowly into his lagoon. He wants her beneath him, to be submerged very soon. Venice, bride of the sea, abused wife of the sea, soon to be a drowned bride city under the sea.
Thanks for the opportunity. Thanks, Bernard. Thanks, Gillian. Now, this poem came to me that particular day when I was late for work. I was particularly upset because I have to explain to my boss. When I'm upset, I write a poem. So. The morning call failed again for the third time this term. The room overcolored as the final ring came through. I dived to the door with my chest barely clad. A double-sided jacket wrapped all the loose buttons as I almost ejected my car from the second level. Traffic lights brutally turned my song into frantic horns. I hit 120 on the highway to limit the time by which I arrived late to 1 minute 17 seconds. I did blame the traffic for the ill-timed temperature, my death. But they should have been there, receiving the morning like they used to, piercing into my reincarnation those programmed directives and murmurs from their joints, coughs. Since when should I have realized the cart had ceased running on the snow? The tracks filled and the gallops grew distant. My room had wordlessly crept into its last season. This morning, the laughter dragged me to the windows. My boy easily mocked the backyard of snow, stretching on the lawn chair shirtless. His wool hat and old jeans emphasized the sunlight on his hairless skin, the late tune from the alarm. I coiled back into the landscape of bedding, checked with frame-filtered February ray, the toilet flushes, those knocks.
Someone complained about drug droplets. Officers came with a giraffe to punish the tree. The chicks rained like fried liquors. Eggs became vinegar. Problem solved. Some men stopped by, whispered in each other's ears, and added to their travel journey. Among vegetarian tiger, talking penguin, masquerade of chimps. Before they moved on, they laid a few rusty leaves to rot with the sea.
Farewell, D. A restless night, memories of 4,000 days. You were absent in my dreams. 2 lines from your email address. I typed my words, only to erase them afterwards. The Christmas cruise I did not join. Sails to the summer we never met. Maple leaves around my feet. You always reminded me how special I am. Across the other side of the ocean, from the land with the sexy name. Now it is my turn to keep thoughts of you when I look at stars in heaven.
I wrote this poem on board an airplane from Guangzhou to Urumqi, which is in Xinjiang, the northwest of China. Aerial view of Kunlun Mountains. And the sun will go down golden over these zebra-colored hills, the darkened precipices, snow-capped rills, layers of mist and clouds enfolding hewn granite, jagged basalt, glacial ice, shining like halos in the sun on mountain tops, whence rivers run from the inception of their course. The sun will set in streams of gold, bathing the mountains in its light, until soft shadows of the night envelop them in curtains cold.
Good evening. All right, so my poem is In Fear of Dusk. This is the hour that judges you, that makes you fear looking at your own self in the mirror. The dust and dirt of the day cover your face, your body, in sticky layers. And yet the heart beats on. The day is vanishing over the skyscraper tops. Street lights are being lit. Even offices seem to glow in the impending dusk. Red, green, red, green, red, green, the raging traffic is controlled. On your pocket mirror, your dreamy face covets colorful butterflies embroidered on clothes behind the shop window. They even seem to hover, taking your thoughts over the flaming clouds where Cupid is dozing off, an uncast arrow loose on his lap. The heart expands in total readiness to receive it. Pinging devices show messages from work, advertisements, more work. Darkness after dusk is only for the distant horizon, where layers of dust and dirt matter no more. Thank you.
I'm trying to shorten myself, but I've never been successful. Satan's taxing times. 'Tis time we should all understand that behind every evil there is the dark, sinister hand of Satan, the eternal devil. When Satan sees the population on earth having lots of fun with food, wine, and copulation, he fears hell will come undone. So he contacts his covert agents and expands on his inner frustration with directives to prime ministers and presidents to escalate the rate of taxation. For he knows when taxes rise, people feel depressed and unwell and are lured by the tempting prize of the tax-free pleasures of hell. So no matter what games you play, whether baseball, football or hockey, unless you go to hell for the day, Satan's hand will be picking your pocket.
Thank you, Werner. Thank you, Gillian, for having me. Life experiences tell me that the secret of happiness lies in gratitude. My poem, Gratitude. Let's be the first to say hello, whoever we are, wherever we go. A simple phrase like, I thank you, will show goodwill in what we do. And often it's our silly smile that makes our chores seem worthwhile. Gratitude expressed in any form carries us through life's rain and storm. We might be angry in different ways, but think good thoughts. Anger fades. Our happiness is just a bore without gratitude at its core. To be grateful from the heart will let happiness play its part. I'm 80 years old. This is my life's experience. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Libby. Thank you very much, everybody. I think that was a great privilege to hear in such a short space of time the thoughts and significant experiences and emotions of so many people. So thank you all very much for your readings. Thank you so much.
Well, I'm sure you will agree that this has been a most interesting program. Thank you to everyone who spoke this evening. It's amazing how much we've got through in a very short time. Perhaps we should start again. I would very much like to thank, before we draw this to a close, the 4 volunteers at our reception desk and the book table, Miss Benny Tam and Miss Sybil Wong. Also 2 students from Hong Kong Baptist University. Kindly arranged by Dr. Jun Pan, Janice of the translation program. They are Jenny Chi Wai Wong and Jenny Chi Lok Chun. All 4 of them will remain at the book table for some time to help you purchase lots of books. Don't forget, all poets will be happy to sign in your copy of the anthology. George and Gillian will sign Through American Eyes, and all other writers here with books on the table will do the same. Right. Please continue to enjoy the evening. The cash bar and any canapé not yet consumed are available until the close of play at 9:15 p.m. Thank you very much.